In this video, we're going to show you how to properly set up and connect the Shure SM7B dynamic microphone to the Focusrite Vocaster 1 audio interface. We're going to show you 4 different ways to set the gain no matter what way you want to do it. There's advantages and disadvantages to each one of them. All of them will give you a high quality result. We'll give you some tips and tricks along the way. Now, if you are looking for pricing or specs for anything that you see in this video, we do have links down in the description below where you can find the microphone, the stand, the cables that we use, everything that you see here from a variety of online retailers to make sure that you are getting the best price possible. Now, we have not connected this microphone yet. Right now, you're listening to this lav mic that I've clipped onto me. You'll see an icon up in the top corner here, so you know when you're listening to the Shure SM7B or when you're listening to the lav mic, because obviously as we go through all these processes, we're going to be connecting and disconnecting and that type of thing. Now, before we get into connecting the microphone, the first big question a lot of people have, the Focusrite Vocaster 1 has a super powerful and clean preamp inside it. You do not need an inline preamp like the Cloudlifter CL1, the Fethead, the Dynamite. There's a whole bunch of different versions of these out there. You don't need any external outboard power to properly power the Shure SM7B. That used to be the case with a lot of older generation devices. They just didn't have the required clean gain to power this microphone. It is a broadcast dynamic. It requires a lot of clean gain to power it, but that's no longer the case with this next generation of audio interfaces. Next, no matter what we show you in this video, your microphone will sound horrible if you have bad placement. The Shure SM7B is a broadcast dynamic. It wants to be close to your mouth. That's how it gets that nice warm sound. This is what it's designed. It's designed to be within a fist of your mouth. If you have the microphone down here, it's not going to sound good. If you have it too close to your mouth and you're breathing right into the diaphragm, it's not going to sound good. You want it about a fist away. For me, I keep it just slightly below my mouth for a couple of reasons. One, it allows me to see the camera for videos like this. It's not obstructing my face or something like that. And two, I find just having it slightly below helps to remove some of that breathing noise when you go between the words when you're speaking into the microphone. The last tip before we get into connecting is we always do recommend using some type of a boom arm. Lately, we've been using the Rode PSA-1 a lot more. That's this one. It has a lot more kind of sound isolation. We used to use desk stands and other boom arms and stuff. This one with the neoprene on it really does help to take a lot of those kind of bumps and stuff out of the microphone. The Shure SM7B has a lot of shock mounting built into it, but if you are aiming for the highest result possible, a nice high quality boom arm like the Rode PSA-1 would work well for you, help get rid of those bumps and clean up your audio just a little bit more. Okay, so next we can finally connect the microphone to the Vocaster 1. Now to do that, we need an XLR cable. If you're new to audio, you'll hear people calling it a XLR male to female because there's a male connector and a female connector. If you just say XLR connector, it always has one of each type of connector on it. So we're going to connect this to the microphone. It just slides right in right here, pretty easy. And we'll run it down the Rode PSA-1 boom arm. Now, if you're new to audio as well, it's really tempting just to drop the cable or run it straight to the audio interface. As you get more into these setups, you're always judged by the quality and the cleanness of your cable run, so try to keep everything neat and tidy. We like using these Canary XLR cables. We have some links down in the description below. They're colorful, it's easy for you to see what we're doing, but if you have multiple microphones in a studio, you can see like which one is the white one, which one's the red one, and I don't know, depending on your brand or whatever, you might want colored cables. So you can see here for the purposes of this video right now that the audio interface is already turned on. We already have our recording software going on the laptop. So double check that it's going. Now, it is technically best practice to always turn the audio interface off when you're connecting cable, especially if you're using phantom power. The SM7B is a beast. It doesn't require phantom power, and it can take a beating, so I'm not too worried about it. It's one of those things that's best practice, but you can do it a million times without actually getting into trouble most times. Okay, so next we need to talk about setting the gain. I'm going to show you both ways to do it with the computer, and then I'm going to show you both ways to do it with the audio interface. One bit of gain theory here is at the very top, if this microphone was totally cranked up, the maximum volume that it could be is 0 decibels, 0 dB. You cannot push a microphone louder than 0 dB. That's the loudest. So in order to record ourselves properly, we like to record between -12 and -18. That gives us 12 dB of headroom there, just so we have buffer if we laugh or we're animated. If you're live streaming, podcasting, broadcasting, anything, hopefully you have some personality and you're showcasing that. So you have that headroom, because if you bump into that 0 dB kind of hard stop, you will get clipping and distortion, and you can never fix your audio. So I always record between -18 and -12 dB. I'll show you what that looks like. So over on the computer here, you can see that I have a meter here. I have a peak meter because I'm running Logic Pro to record this. So you can see there that it's I'm peaking at -13. So the first way that you can set your level with this is if you open the Vocaster software and you drag your level around. So I want to bump it up just a little bit here. So now I'm peaking at -17. Now I'm in that -18 to -12. If I laugh, or if I get really close, or if I tell a joke or something like that, I'm in the safe window. This is set properly. So you can manually set it. That's option 1. Now, option 2 is to do this auto gain feature. When I click this, it's going to ask me to talk for 10 seconds, and it'll automatically set the gain for me. You won't be able to hear me when I do this. Check 1, 2. My name is Jordan from Kettner Creative. You can't hear this. It's auto setting the gain. It's auto setting the gain. It's auto setting the gain. All right, so you see that meter jump there. Now if we look over to our monitoring software, I'm going to reset the peak, and you can see here that it's peaking around that -18. According to the manual, it aims for that same -18 to -12 window that I described earlier, and you can see here that I just peaked at -17.5. So the auto gain feature does work properly. Now, if you don't have this window open, or say you have this device far away from your computer and you have a long USB cable or something like that, you can redo both of those processes manually on the device itself. Okay, so to set the gain on the Rode Vocaster 1 without the software, you just need to touch the volume knob here. Now you can see here that there's a white level, and then the green shows the meter. So if you adjust the knob, then you can turn it up and down. So if I turn this up a little bit, now you can see that I'm peaking at 11.1. If I need to manually bump myself up more than the auto gain does with the software, then you can do this. But if you want to set the gain automatically on the device itself, you can do that as well. If I click this level button here, then it will automatically sense the level. So I need to speak into the microphone again. You'll see it crawl down here. You'll see the color change. When that runs out, it'll automatically set the gain. So I'm going to click this on. Check 1, 2. This is me testing it. You won't hear it right now. You'll probably only hear me on the lav mic. Check 1, 2. It says to speak at a normal volume as you would normally. We see those colors draw down, and then we see it set the level, and then we see the meter activate. All that happens automatically. So if you're mid-podcast or something and it just sounds quiet or loud or distorted or off, just pause for 10 seconds, click that button, talk on the microphone, and it'll auto set the gain again for you. Now, just to double check our work, I'm going to reset the peak meter here, and you can see again that we're at -17 dB, which is that sweet spot that we're aiming for with a properly set up microphone. Now, if you're setting up the Shure SM7B, let's go through a couple other setup options with the Vocaster 1. Of course, there is a mute button. If you click down, if you click it back on, now you can hear me again. That's pretty cool to have a nice hard mute switch there. Of course, you do have the headphone thing. I have a set of 250 ohm headphones. So to make that work for vocal monitoring, I find that I'm set at about 75%. I do have a bit of headroom here. I'm pretty happy with how it powers these headphones, which are actually quite hard to power. So that's really good. And last but not least, we have the enhanced version built into the Vocaster 1. So what this does is, of course, add some post-processing, hoping to improve the sound of the microphone. If we click this on, you'll hear it gets a little bit more crispy, a little more compressed. So let's look over at the software to see what it's actually doing here. In the enhanced mode, you can see that it is turned on. And if we hit the drop down, you can see that right now we're on the clean version. There are 4 different sounds here. So this is how the clean version sounds. Then there's a warm version. You hear it warm up. Those lower frequencies get smoother and it's a little less grating. This is a bit warmer. Next, we have a bright one. Again, you do hear it clean up. It gets a little bit kind of more crispy up top, brighter up top. And then we have the radio one. This is their way of kind of emulating that AM radio. You can really hear it warm up. It gets quite a bit enhanced. It gives you that AM radio authority built into the microphone. So if you are doing like a sports show or something like that with your Vocaster 1, this is probably a good setting. There are no ways to manually tweak this for the Shure SM7B. These are just some baked in options to get you started. You can use other software if you need more advanced control over this type of thing. Now, just for contrast, I'm going to turn this off again. So that's everything I would do if I was setting up the Shure SM7B with the Vocaster 1. You can set up the gain automatically or manually with the computer, or automatically or manually with the Vocaster 1 itself using the hardware options on the device. There are 4 different options built into it. For enhancement, you have clean, warm, bright, and radio, which give you some options to play around with. Of course, there are other software that you can use if you want more advanced compression or something like that. Again, if you do want pricing or specs for anything that you've seen here, we have a ton of links down in the description below. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.